Hey guys, welcome to lesson 14. The division algorithm converting decimal division into whole number division using fractions. So before we get started really into the lesson, I wanted to go over a couple of examples with you. So when we look at a problem like this, we have 324 divided by 3/10. Okay, we can write that problem two different ways. We've gone over the fact that you cannot have a decimal out here in your divisor. Okay, so we always say, all right, well, we're going to take that decimal and we got to move it over one time so that we now have a whole number. Well, here, my decimal would have started here. So it's going to move to there. So I'm now dividing 3,240 divided by 3. Okay, mathematically, what you need to see and what you need to understand is here, if we write this way, what am I really doing when I'm moving that decimal point 1 to the right? Well, I'm really multiplying it by 10. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So here, multiplying the divisor by 10, I have to multiply the dividend by 10. That would give me my new problem of 3,240 divided by 3. Okay, we're not going to solve them quite yet, just wanting to show you the mathematics. Next problem, 32 7/10 divided by 45 hundredths. Okay, same thing. I can move that decimal. I have to move it 2 times in order to clear that decimal out of the divisor. Over here, in order to move it 2 times, I'm going to have to add a 0. Mathematically, what am I doing? To move that decimal 2 times to the right, I'm really multiplying by 100. Okay, so 45 hundredths times 100 is 45. 32 7/10 times 100 is 3,270. My problem now is 3,270 divided by 45. Got to clear the decimal out of that divisor. Okay, last example like this. Same thing. We're looking at 32 75 hundredths divided by 9 2/10. Have to clear that decimal out of that divisor. Okay, when I do it with standard algorithm, I can just kind of show my shift. When I do that, I make sure I bring that decimal point straight up before I start any kind of dividing. Some of you may want to, at that point, rewrite the problem so that you have no possibilities of getting confused. Okay? Really what we're doing, we're shifting that decimal 1 place to the right, which means we're multiplying both of them by 10. So I end up with 327 5/10 divided by 92. All right, going ahead and getting into our actual lesson. To start us off, we are looking at the problem 1/2 divided by 1/10. This is really asking 1/2 is 1/10 of what number? So if we show this with a tape diagram, we're starting with our whole, looking at this as being 1/2, okay, 1/2 is 1/10 of what number? 1/2 is 1/10 of what number? Well, pretty easy to see from my tape diagram here. I have 10 groups of 1/2. 10 groups of 1/2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each of those is 1/2. Well, we know a half of 10 is 5. So 1/2 divided by 1/10 is 5. Showing it with our standard algorithm, we know that dividing by 1/10 is the same as multiplying by this reciprocal, okay, multiplying by 10 over 1. From here, you guys can cross cancel. You can go ahead and multiply as normal. You'd get 10 over 2, which would reduce. I'm going to go ahead and do my cross canceling in this step here. I can divide both 2 and 10 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And I end up with 5 over 1, which we know in lowest terms equals 5. Okay? The way that our lesson, this is all review, the way our lesson today is looking is we want to be able to make these into decimals. So if we look at 1/2 and 1/10, those are really easy numbers to convert into decimals. 1/2 we know is the same as 0.5. 1/10 we know is the same as 0.1. My diagram here is exactly the same as it was above. The only difference is I now have this 1/2 represented as a decimal, where up here I had it represented as a fraction. Nothing is changing. I still have 10 groups of 5/10. Okay, if you need to see it the other way, 1/2 and 1/2 makes a whole. 1/2 and 1/2, that's 2 wholes, 3 wholes, 4 wholes, 5 wholes. Okay, so 10 groups of 1/2 equals 5 wholes. All right, going on to the next problem. I'm hoping that this becomes pretty easy. We're looking at, I just actually wanted to rewrite this like this and then show you what we're doing when we go to our standard algorithm. So here, our dividend and our divisor both have a decimal in it. We're not really concerned about the dividend. We're only concerned about the divisor. So here, to clear that divisor, I'd need to multiply them both by 10. And I would end up with 5 divided by 1. Pretty easy. All right. Do a couple of examples for you before I turn you loose onto your problem set. Let's go ahead and do 3,581 and 9/10 divided by 4 and 9/10. You can do this multiple different ways. Again, we'll go ahead and rewrite it as a fraction. 3,581 and 9/10 divided by 4 and 9/10. We have to clear this divisor, that decimal in our divisor. There's one digit after the the decimal, so we need to multiply by 10. It's going to shift that decimal one place to the right. 49 is 10 times bigger than 4 and 9/10. This is going to become 35,819 divided by 49. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this up. Standard algorithm. And I'm going to go ahead and solve. Same process as always. So, does 49 go into 3? No. Does it go into 35? No. Does it go into 358? Sure. How many times? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going to estimate that to be 50. So I'm going to count groups of 50. 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350. Well, that's pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and try 7 times and see what happens. 9 times 7 is 63. 7 times 4 is 28, plus my 6 gives me 34. Next step is to subtract. 8 minus 3 is 5, and 5 minus 4 is 1. My checking, is my subtraction this number less than my divisor? Yes, so I'm good to continue. Go ahead and drop the 1, bring that down. Now we're back to our division step. How many times does 49 go into 151? Well, counting by those groups of almost 50 again, so 50, 100, 150, I'm going to try 3. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Okay. From here, we should start being able to think about this. We don't always have to go do our renaming of units. We're really just asking how far apart are these on the number line? Well, 147 to 151 is going to be 4 away. Those are 4 away from each other. Again, if you need to go use the standard algorithm, go rename these units. Absolutely, not a problem. Okay, then we're going to drop down that 9. Then that makes me happy. I'm checking here, looking. Okay, sweet. So 49 can go into 49 one time with no remainder. 3,581 and 9/10 divided by 4 and 9/10 equals 731. Of course, as always, we could do a check on this. 731 times 49 had better get us back to 35,819. Okay, just to remember, if we were to put this in a calculator, let's go ahead and do this. Yeah, calculator, I can speak, trust me. So let's go ahead and do this. If I went 3,581 and 9/10 and I divided it by 4 and 9/10, guess what my answer is? 731. So remember, just because we're multiplying these by 10, because we did the same to both parts, the relationship of the number is still the same. We have to clear that decimal in this divisor in order to be able to perform the standard algorithm. There's nothing magical happening, okay? We just have to clear that decimal. All right, really quick, let's go ahead and do one more example. Let's do this one here. So it is 6 and 194 thousandths divided by 326 thousandths. Okay, so 6 and 194 thousandths divided by 326 thousandths. All right, remember, this is my divisor. This is what I have to clear the decimal out of. So if I have to move that decimal to clear it, how many times? 1, 2, 3. In order to move that decimal 3 times, I'm multiplying by what? I hope you said 1,000, right? We're multiplying both the dividend and the divisor by 1,000. I didn't leave myself a whole ton of room here. So moving this 3 times gives me 326 as a divisor and 6,194 as my dividend. 6,194, setting this up as standard algorithm, divided by 326. All right, does 326 go into 6? Absolutely not. Does it go into 61? Absolutely not. Does it go into 619? Absolutely. How many times? Well, I can see that this doubled is going to be more than 619, so I know it's only going to go in one time. Then I'm going to subtract 9, take away 6 is 3. Go do some regrouping. That 100 becomes 10 tens. I now have 11 tens. Take away 2 tens gives me 9 there. Here. Okay, and I say tens because I'm pretending that 4 isn't there. It's really not tens, right? It's really in the hundreds. Okay, so now I get this ones place involved. And I'm dividing again. 2,934 divided by 326. After I do a little bit of math, I find out that it goes in 9 times. 9 times 6 is 54. And so here I find out that 326 times 19 is 6,194. All right? All right, I hope that helps clear up any questions that you have on lesson 14. Super easy. Just make sure you're clearing out that divisor, multiplying by powers of 10, 10, 100, or 1,000. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure to reach out.